So in this video, I'm going to be going over an AI automation that can actually classify our emails completely for us. And it can really save us a lot of time and kind of clear out our inbox and make it at least manageable to kind of go through and filter through a bunch of different emails. So I'm going to start with a quick demo, show you some of the features of this workflow, and then I'm going to walk you through how you can actually download a free template for this workflow and then walk you through setting it up so you can start using this yourself. So to hop into a quick demo, I'm first going to send myself a series of emails. I have had ChatGPT generate some examples here, and then we're going to look at each different step and what happens when I receive each of these different types of emails. So the four that I'm going to be receiving are going to be spam, a newsletter, internal email. So if you are working for a business, maybe you're a business owner, you might be receiving emails internally from employees or maybe your boss. And then we have so maybe client communication or like a lead contacting us, something like that that's somebody outside of our company as well. So I'm actually going to skip spam. There's not really much. I'll show you kind of what that does, but I'm going to skip over sending myself that email just for the sake of time. So we're going to do send myself an example of a newsletter here. Can head back into N8N, and we're going to make sure that I actually received that email, so it starts with in this week's edition. So you can see that is the correct email. I'm going to go out of this trigger here and just execute this workflow. So you can see it's now completed executing this part of the workflow, and just going to give you a quick explanation of what this is actually done. Is we are first receiving the email in this Gmail trigger. So whenever we receive that email, it's then going to classify it into any of these different types. So personally, I've just added spam, newsletters, internal emails, external emails, so client or lead communication, and then another section as well, which I've just chose to do nothing with. So you can obviously come in here and change these to your liking. Maybe you're receiving different kinds of emails. But for my example of the newsletter, this is going to be the same for all of these as well. The first step, we are just adding a label inside of my Gmail account. So you can see we're adding a label for newsletters, and I'm just doing the same for spam. That's why I'm not really going over that. It just adds a label and categorizes that email as spam. So next field, the next two fields actually, we are getting and formatting that email and kind of removing some of the links and stuff for it, so it looks just a little bit nicer. And then we are actually adding that email to a Google Doc. So you can see where it's added it here. And what this allows us to do is that I can actually run this sub workflow here, and you can set this up to run, every day, every couple days. And kind of as that Google document gets filled up with different newsletters that you're receiving, it's then going to go and get that document and then summarize all the different newsletters and kind of give me a summary inside of Slack. So it's going to send me an individual message inside of Slack. Show you what this looks like very quickly. I'm going to execute all of these. So you can see I received one newsletter. These are the topics of it. So I can go back to my email later if I'd like and actually read that completely, or I can just choose to not do that. And lastly, we are just clearing out that document so it doesn't get filled up with leftover newsletters. You can see that here. So up next, I'm going to send myself an example of an internal email and show you what that looks like. And this one starts with just a heads up. So we can go and fetch this email as well. Just make sure we're getting the right one here. So what I'm doing here is I'm just continuously fetching my new emails until I've actually made sure that I received that email, so we can just make sure that it is going through properly and executing on the correct email. So how this would normally work is you would just change this workflow from inactive to active, just like this, and it would then wait for your emails. So every minute it would check and see if you've received any more emails, and then run this workflow on whatever emails you've received. But I just want to make sure that I am actually running it on the correct ones that I'm receiving. So I can then click out of the trigger, execute the workflow here, and you can see that it was correctly categorized or classified as an internal email. And again, this first step, we're just adding an internal label on it. So when I go into my inbox, all of them are just correctly labeled. So it makes it nice and easy when I can go into there and just quickly filter through every single email at a quick glance. And then what this does is I'm actually sending a message again to myself inside of Slack, just kind of notifying me that I have received an internal email. And then it actually gives me a quick kind of overview of the information in that email, so who it was sent from, and then a quick snippet just saying kind of the topic of that email. So if I head over to Slack, again, you can see that here. I actually received a couple when I was running this before, but you can see an example of one of these messages here. You have an internal email from myself, and then just giving a quick snippet of what that email is actually about. Lastly, we have the client communication or a lead email, whichever you are typically receiving more. You can kind of adapt to that, but we're going to send this email and go through what it actually does. Now, before I actually hit send on this, I do want to just quickly point out I have a kind of a fake CRM here that I've just quickly set up. I guess it's not really fake, but there's only one lead in it. It's just myself, for example. So I got my name, status. We're going to set my lead to cold, and then you can see email, no phone number, no notes. This will make more sense in just a second while I'm showing you this, but that's what my example CRM looks like right now. So we're going to hit send on this email and then see what happens inside of N8N. So this is going to start where I wanted to share a quick update. Can fetch and make sure that we're getting that. Okay. So if you get that email, we're going to execute this workflow. And I'll kind of go over this and talk over this while it's running. So the first thing we've got is we have, again, we're just setting a label. This where I'm labeling as a client email. And again, these just show up inside of my Gmail account. So to look something like this, you know, you have each of these labels. So if I'm quickly in my email and I need to look at internal and client, you can see I can just skim through each of these very easily and make it as efficient as possible. So back inside of N8N, what I'm doing, again, setting a label there, and then these next two steps, I'm actually creating a draft email. Now, what you can do, I've actually deactivated these, but I just wanted to kind of make a point and add this in here as well. So this agent is actually going to read the email that we just received and then create a response, and it's going to do that as a draft inside of Gmail. Now I'll show you how we can actually get to this very easily, but we have the option to actually add tools to connect to whatever software we're using to manage projects. So if you are particularly like an online service-based business, you can connect to whatever software you use to manage, you know, clients. Maybe you're managing a lead here. You can add your CRM here as well. And that just gives this agent more information to write a response email based on, you know, whatever stage their project is in or whatever stage that lead is actually in inside of your sales funnel. So then here we're just writing that email or creating the draft inside of Gmail after it's written by the agent. And then again, we are sending a message inside of Slack. And in this case, I send it to an internal only thread or a channel inside of Slack here. And you can see that here. So you can see that we received a message from the client. I think I accidentally ran it twice. So we're going to look at this bottom message here, this one that I just highlighted. So you can see we get the client name. You can change this to lead name, and then what they said. So again, we're just getting a short snippet of that email, and then we actually get a link that we can open up that takes us to our drafts. You can see I have a couple from previous days, but we'll click on this first one. And you can see that we actually are taken directly into that thread, drafted our email here. It's ready to send to the right person. And you can come in here, make any edits to that email that you like, hit send, and it's just that convenient. So that's what it looks like. And then lastly, this other agent is going to then take that email and actually update my CRM. And you can see in my CRM here, the lead status was changed from cold to warm. And then we also added some notes here as well, just kind of giving us some information that's been updated about the stage of this client or the stage of this lead. That about does it for the demo. For now, we can hop into downloading this template and then getting this set up for yourself so you can start using this and really making your email management that much more efficient. So really quick before we dive into getting that workflow downloaded and set up for yourself, if you want to learn how to build workflows like the one I'm showing you how to build today, or you want to just learn how to use AI more effectively, you want to learn how to use N8N, or you just want to hop in and be surrounded by a community that's interested in exploring and staying up to date with the latest trends and new tools in AI, then consider joining my WAP community. I just released this not too long ago. So if this does sound interesting, check it out. It'll be linked in the description. And without wasting more time, we can get back into the video. All right, so to get started setting this up for yourself, we first need to go down to the link in the description where I've given you access to this template. Again, that's completely free. Just download that template. It will be in the form of a JSON file. And once you've got that file downloaded, we are going to head over to N8N. So if you already have an account, just log in. If you don't, head to n8n.io and you can just click get started. It will walk you through creating an account. And once you've done that, we will be brought to a home overview page. It'll look something like this. And all we need to do from here is we can go up to the top right and select create a new workflow. And that will bring us into an empty editor here. And from this editor, again, we're going to click the top right, select these three dots, and then select import from file, and just select that JSON file that you downloaded. Now that should import a workflow that looks something like this. And we can actually start walking through connecting your accounts and then setting this up for yourself so you can start using this. And along with this, I'm going to kind of explain what each piece of this workflow is actually doing. So we'll start here with the Gmail trigger, and what we can do is just open up this node or this step just by double clicking on it, and we actually need to connect our Gmail account. So we're going to do this by selecting credential to connect with. It'll give us a list here. We're going to just go down to create new credential, and then here we're just going to sign in with Google. It'll pop up a little window. You can select your Google account, select continue, I believe, and then it will give you a list of permissions that you can just allow N8N basically to access whatever permissions you want inside of your Gmail account. So I just selected all. You're going to go through and choose if you like, and then just select continue at the bottom of the screen. You should get a confirmation screen. You can close out of that, and then this should turn green up here at the top, and then we're good to go. So just click save, and we can close out of this page here. So once we've connected our Gmail account, we can click out of this node, and we can look at the email classifier. Now, I would just edit the prompts in here. You probably won't have to change this top part unless you really want to. I am just passing in the whoever sent the email, the subject, and then the preview. And then we have a description for each of the different categories that we are sorting into. So if you want to edit the different sections that you have inside of your email, you can do that here. You can add categories as well, or just delete them by clicking the little trash can. And then you'll want to add the name for the category and then add a description as well. So for each of these descriptions, you can select this little dot or the button in the bottom right of this text field. We'll just open it up in a larger page, and I would just copy and paste examples for each of these really. That's probably the most efficient and most effective way to do this. For internal emails, you could add a list of people. So, I said, this type of emails from the following people. So, whoever's in your business, your company that's typically sending you emails, you can add just a list of names here. So that will also help. But I just added examples and kind of just briefly explained. So edit those to the types of emails that you're actually receiving. And then we need to actually open up this OpenAI chat model down here and connect our OpenAI account into N8N. So again, we'll just double click to open up that. And then again, we're going to go to the credential to connect with, and then select create new credential. and then we need to add an API key. So to add our API key, we are literally just going to look up OpenAI API, and then mine pops up with their API platform page first. We'll just go to OpenAI's page here, and then we will select login, and then we're going to make sure that we select the API platform. Once we've logged in, we'll be brought to this page, and we can go to the dashboard on the top row here, and then going to the left side, we'll select API keys. And then from here, we actually need to create a new secret key. So you can just click this button right here. It will ask you to give that key a name. So you could call it something like N8N, and then it will give you that secret key. You want to write this down somewhere, but you want to write it down somewhere safe, ideally, because you will have to add, I think it's $5 minimum to this. It's not a whole lot, and it does last a very long time. So add like $5, and then paste your secret key somewhere safe. And then also we're going to paste it into N8N here under this API key section. So paste it into this field here, and then we can click save, and you'll be good to go as far as connecting your OpenAI account. So again, we can click out of this node here, and then we can start looking at each of these sections here. So we'll open up the spam node first. You can of course change these to however you'd like, but all these are doing, you don't have to change anything here except for the label, and you can easily add these labels inside of your Gmail account. So you can see labels down here. You just click the plus. I'm gonna add a test label, add another one. I already added one. Click create, and you can see another label gets popped up down there. You can change the color if you like. That's what it looks like. And then inside of N8N here, it'll just give you a list. And you can see test label 2, the one I just made. So you can add multiple to different types of emails, but like I just added spam for this one, and then just repeated that for each of these. So I added one called newsletters, added that there, internal here, and then client right there. So now we can get into the newsletter section. You won't have to do anything for these two different steps here. I'll briefly explain what these are doing. You don't have to worry too much about these two steps right here. And then this was just creating the label. So when we receive the email initially, I'm simplifying the output, and we actually just receive a snippet of the email. So it's like the first, 2 sentences basically of that email. And that is good enough for classifying it and then sending ourselves summaries down here. But when we're actually adding that email to a Google document here, we want to be adding the entire thing. So here I'm just getting the same email back, but I'm not simplifying it, so we can get the entire body of the email. And then here I'm just formatting the email. I'm receiving it in Markdown, or HTML, sorry, and then formatting it to Markdown and removing the links. That just, again, helps it not take up like 5 pages inside of our Google Doc here. So it's just formatting the email, adding it to the Google Doc here. So we will actually need to connect our Google Docs account if you want to do this. If you don't, just skip ahead in the video. I'll have the timestamps below. But to do this, we're going to open up this node here, and then we need to select again the credential to connect with, create new credential, and then in this case we actually need a client ID and a client secret, as well as an authorization URL and an access token URL. So we can go ahead and paste in a link, or not link, but have these in the description. So the authorization URL is going to be that, and then the access token URL is going to be this. So just go down to the description, you can copy these and paste these in here. And then what we need to do from here to get the client ID and the client secret is actually head over to Google Cloud and create a project. So to do that, we're going to open up the documentation here at the top of this node. So just click on Open Docs. So once we've gotten to this page, we can scroll down and go to the section that says Create a Google Cloud Console Project. And then the step 1 gives us a link to our Google Cloud Console. So we can just open up this link here. And then we actually need to create a project inside of our Google Cloud Console. So to do that, we can go to this project, select menu here, and just click on this, and then it'll open up a list of our projects. We're just going to select create a new project, give it a name here. So I'm going to do AnyDen. You can do AnyDen. I'm going to do demo. I don't even know how many I'm at, but and then we can just leave it as no organization and just select create. We'll wait a second while this is actually creating this project for us. You can see it's loading. Now it's finished. So we actually need to select on this project. You can do that inside of the notifications by just selecting on the project here. You can open up the notifications again, or we can just go to the project menu here and just select it this way. And then you just want to make sure that you're actually in the project you just made, so you can see it right there as well as right here. Once we're actually into that project, we can go to the menu on the left side and go down to APIs and services, and then go over and go down to OAuth consent screen. Once we're at this page, we need to select get started. I just call it AnyDen. We'll add an email from the drop down, select next. We'll do external here, select next again, add an email, select next, I agree, continue, and then finish. And then from here, we are going to go under this metrics section, go over, and then we're going to create an OAuth client. The application type is going to be a web application. The name, I'm just going to call it AnyDen again. And then we actually need to add an authorized redirect URL. So we can add the URL here, and then this we can actually get from AnyDen. So if we go back to the connection page that we were just on, it actually gives us that the OAuth redirect URL. So we can just click on it, it will copy it. You can see that there. We can go back to our project and then paste that into the authorized redirect URL. Select create, and then click OK. And then we get a list of all the clients that we've made. So we can select the one that we just made. And then we get the client ID here. So you'll just copy this client ID value, paste it into the client ID section, and then we get the client secret value as well. So we can copy that and paste that into the client ID section, and then just click sign in with Google. It'll be look like the same process as before with our Gmail account. Select your Google account, click continue, and then give it the list of permissions that you want to have AnyDen access on your Google documents, and then click continue. It'll give you a confirmation screen, and then this will turn green at the top here. We can click save, and then we can close out of this connection. Now there's actually one more thing we need to do, so we can go back into our Google Cloud Console. Inside of our project, we're just going to go to the top search bar here, and we're going to type docs. We're going to select Google Docs API, and then we're just going to hit enable on this, and then it'll be enabled. You can see we can disable it later if we want, but that's what it looks like. You can also repeat this for other Google software that you want to connect into AnyDen. So if you wanted to connect to Google Sheets, type Sheets, go to Google Sheets API. Again, just enable this. Again, we're not using Google Sheets, but I just wanted to show you that while we're inside of our Google Cloud Console, you can do that while you're there. So the other thing is you'll actually need to make a document inside of your Google Docs or Google Drive. And then what we need to do is we actually need to copy part of the URL, which is going to be the document ID. You can just paste in the whole URL here. It was not working for me for some reason, so I did the document ID and it worked. So feel free to try the URL. If it's not working, just do the ID. So the ID is going to be, you can see the URL here is docs.google.com. Then we have /document /d / and then we have a bunch of characters here in between two /. So this is actually going to be the document ID. we can just copy this. You can see it's before / edit, and then it's after d/ and then that's the document ID. We can just copy that and then paste it inside of this document ID section. And then the actions we are taking, you might have to add these. We are using text, we are inserting it inside of the body, and we're just doing at end of specific position. And then here you can kind of add the different text that you actually want added. So I just chose to do, whoever sent the email, and then the output from the previous step, which is just formatting it and removing the links. You can leave this value in there and change or add anything else above it or below it, but that's what I recommend. I also added a couple new lines below here just to keep it spaced out in between emails. So next thing we'll look at is sending these inside of Slack here. We are doing that twice, in the internal and the client, as well as this other one I'll talk about later. Again, we're just adding the labels there. I'm not going to get into that. We can open up this Slack connection here. So inside of this node, we of course need to create a new credential. So if you haven't connected with Slack already, we'll need to do that. So select create new credential here. And in this case, we are going to be using an access token. So what we're going to do from here is I just looked up Slack API. This is the page that pops up first for me. Could go to developers, I guess. We just need to get into our apps. So whichever page it takes you to, just make sure you're going to your apps. And it'll give us a list of our apps here like this. We are just going to create a new app from scratch, and then we'll give it a name. So I'll do Anyden demo. You can do Anyden. You can see mine was Anyden connection, Anyden connect, Anyden, something like that, so you know what it is later. I'm going to do demo 2. Select the workspace. So whatever workspace you want to do this inside of, select it here. Create app. And then from here, we're just going to go down on the menu here on the left side, go down to OAuth and permissions. And then we can scroll down and go to the scopes. And then you can see we have two different scopes. So we have a bot token scopes or user token scopes. So I'm going to show you how to do with a bot. You can, I believe, do this as a user, but what this is actually going to look like is inside of Slack, we get these different apps that have been connected. So I have Anyden connection, which was the name of that first app in my list. And it's basically just going to be this bot sending me the messages or sending them inside of the channel here. So it's not going to be from me. You could send it from yourself as well. But that's what it looks like. So whichever one you want, you can add them as well. I'm going to show you with the bot. Token scopes. So we can just select add an OAuth scope here. And then for the bot, we are going to add users read. This just lets us actually see the different users that are in our workspace. And if we are sending a message to ourselves, we of course need to see ourselves. If it's a bot, the bot needs to be able to see us and kind of know that we actually exist in the workspace. So that's what that is doing. Then we need to add a chat write. We can send messages as Anyden demo. And then channels read, I believe. And this just lets it see different channels or different like conversations inside of Slack. So you can see that here. If we want it to be able to send in a channel, we need to be able to read the different channels that we actually have. So I'll add those three, get that confirmation at the top, and then we'll scroll back up to the top, and we just need to select install to whatever workspace you're installing this into. Click allow. And then here we actually get that bot user OAuth token. So we'll copy that and paste that into Anyden here. And then we can click save. And you'll be good to go as far as connecting your Slack account. Now, there's a couple settings you might want to change. Of course, your user that you're going to be sending to. So in this case, we are just sending internal emails to myself. You can change that here as well. Also, if you don't use Slack, you can add things like Telegram. If you want to receive messages through Telegram, You can add that here as well. I'm not going to get into connecting that right now, but there are a lot of different options as far as notifying yourself. Maybe you don't want to go back to your email. So here we are sending a message to a user. That's what these three options are doing. Select the user, simple text message, and then we are just referencing these two variables. And how you can get these is you can just select execute previous nodes. It'll go through and kind of run the automation for you. And then here we actually get some values, so predicted ones. You can select execute previous ones. And then what this looks like is you literally get a value, you just drag it in to the field here. It looks like this. It's this little gray highlighted text. So we are plugging in whoever sent the email, this snippet, which both of these come from this Gmail trigger when we are first receiving the email. And then I'm just added text here at the beginning. You have a new internal email. So you get, add spacing here, however you want to do that. So then next we have the client or a lead automation. So this part, we again are just adding a label there. This one is going to write an email response for us. So pretty simple prompt. You'll probably want to add more to this. You will have more information, obviously, about your company or however you want to respond to the emails than I will. I would leave the output parser. The output parser is turned on, so requires specific output format. This just allows us to separate the subject line and the body. Instead of getting one entire response from the agent, we can break it up and receive two different variables that we can reference in each of these fields. So I can directly reference the subject line and then the body here as well. Already connected OpenAI, and then, depending on the project management tool or the CRM that you're using, you can add tools here. To do that, you just select the plus under the tool, search for it over here. So Notion, Airtable, something like that, you can add as well. Not getting into connecting each of those, but Notion I'll actually show you in just a second. But that is what that looks like. And then the next Gmail step, again, you don't have to do anything. We are just plugging in the thread ID. So we're just responding inside of that thread. If you don't want to do that, just delete this. We already are setting the email that we are sending it back to. So I'm sending it to whoever I received the email from. We're adding the message from the AI agent and then the subject line from the AI agent again. Here we are sending a message inside of the certain channel. I just did an internal channel, so you shouldn't have to do anything in here. I just linked my emails, takes you to the drafts page. You won't have to edit this, it should just be universal. Do that text, that's what that's doing, and then a little bit of information about the email, using Markdown to send this. And then you can see I actually turned off the, from iniden, turn that off for this message. So those are some of the settings you can edit inside of this Slack node. And then finally, we are updating our CRM based on the email that we received. So this agent receives the information about the email, the snippet, and then who sent it. I'll go through the system message very quickly. So your job is to receive an email, summarize what it's saying, and then update our CRM. Here are the tools you have access to. The tools are down here. My different status for my leads or my clients. I guess this should be leads, would be cold, warm, booked, and closed. And then you have tools, so you can update a contact. You can create contacts if they don't exist, and then you can get a contact as well. So we go to that, we can go into the tools here. Again, we're just using OpenAI. You've already connected that. So if I open up the create tool, this is what it looks like. We are setting a tool description manually, give it a description, create a lead in our CRM, go to credential to connect with. Again, select the drop down, new credential. And in this case, we need an internal integration secret. So if you head over to Notion, If you are using Notion, just create a new page. We can just go down a couple lines, whatever page you're on. If you want to make a CRM, if you don't already have one, we can do a / to get a list of commands. We're going to just search for a database. I'll just select the inline database. We can give this database a title. And then we can add a page and also some properties for each different contact. So if we add a property here, you can search for an email, add a contact email. We can add a phone, maybe some notes. You can kind of go through the rest of them. Status I will show you actually. A little bit different. So these just fill in automatically. You can just type numbers in here. That's not numbers. Email there. Notes, self-explanatory. The status actually we can edit. So if we click on the property itself, we can rename it. We can change the icon. I'm not going to get it to Notion, but click edit property. And then what we can do is we can actually edit the individual status of this lead. We can add more here if we want. Looks like that. I might want to delete this, so you can select these little 6 dots. Pops up with this. You can rename it, delete, change the color, delete that. We'll delete this as well. Maybe you want the cold. Yeah. So again, not going to get into Notion too much, but that's what it looks like. That's how you can set up a CRM here. So from here, we actually need to connect n8n to Notion, and to do that, I'm going to move my camera so you can see. We're going to go to the left side and go to the menu. We're going to scroll all the way down to settings. So it's all the way at the bottom. Click on settings. We can go to the connections. Make sure to go to the top connections with a little arrow. There's 2 different ones here. So this first one, and then we can go to scroll down and go to develop or manage integrations. This will open up a website. We are going to add an integration. We're going to give it a name, n8n connect. I'm just going to do demo. I don't even know which one I'm at now, but add a name here. Select the workspace that you want to connect to. Type will leave as internal. You can add a logo here if you would like to do that. Select save, and then we're going to select configure integration settings. And then we'll add that in just a second, but you can see the list of capabilities here. You can edit these. I just left them as the default, and these the default ones. So you can leave that. Looks like they've actually updated this. Might be able to do that just in here. Anyways, we can go to configuration. We are going to go to internal integration secret. You're going to press show on this and copy this internal integration secret. Then we just paste that into n8n here, into the internal integration secret field right there. Click save, and we're almost good to go. So there's one more thing we need to do. We're going to go back to that page we were just on with settings. We're going to click out of the settings and go back to our CRM page here. We're going to go to the top right and select the 3 dots. This opens up the menu for the specific page. And then we're going to scroll down to connections. Now we actually have to add the connection to access this specific page. So we can scroll down, and mine was called n8n-demo10. Select that, select confirm. Now if we go back to connections, you can see the active connections for this specific page, and we get n8n-demo10. So that's how you connect n8n to this specific page inside of Notion, and then again has access to the different databases that you have on this page. So that's what that looks like. We can go back to n8n here. We are using a database page, creating it in this case, and then for the database, you'll just want to select the drop down, select whatever you want to connect to. So mine was CRM vid example. You can just select it there. So the title of the page is going to be the name or whatever value is just first here. And again, I'm just letting the model define this. So it'll look like this. It'll be set to fixed actually, but just select this button and then it'll look like that. So that's all it needs to do. You can go through and you add the properties below here, and every property that you add, you're just allowing the AI model to actually fill in that property. So if I wanted to add notes, I can select notes, let the model define it, and it looks like that. Now if we were actually adding a status here, add status, that doesn't let us do that. So we go to expression, and this is just because status is a selection option. It just isn't a normal text field that we can type into. We have to actually pick one of these different properties. So to do this, you'll want to remember each of the different status, or you just copy them over. But we can actually set this field from fixed to expression. This just allows us to use the AI model again. We're just doing the same thing a different way. We're letting the AI determine the status of the lead when we're creating a new lead. To do this, we are going to type 2 curly brackets and then a space. This will start a variable. Inside of these curly brackets, we are going to type a $sign, type from AI, look like this, parentheses, quotations, and then here we can just enter a basically a description. So we'll do status of lead, just to give the AI a little bit of information, as to what it should be filling in right there. And then the other thing that I would recommend is inside of this AI agent, open this up and go to the system settings or the system message, and you can just add a list of the different status options that you've created inside of Notion. So I've just copied them and listed them here. So cold, warm, booked, closed are the ones that I have available inside of Notion here. So that allows you also want to make sure that these match exactly. So mine are all capitalized. These are all capitalized. And basically this allows this agent to fill that value in when it's actually creating a new page, and it only works if it's exact. So hopefully that made sense. If not, and you are concerned about it, drop a comment below and I'll help explain it further. But up next, we are updating a page. Same thing, we are setting a tool description, should already be there. Already connected our account, so we're good up until the database page. Now, I am going to copy this and write this down, but just bear with me here. So to do this, I'm going to duplicate this tool so I don't mess it up. We are going to set the database page to by URL. Now we're just doing this temporarily, so we can fill in some of these properties here. So if we head over to Notion, we're going to open up an example of a lead here. So I literally can just type example, click enter. Now we have an example lead. So we're going to open up this page. Yours could open in a side peek, center peek, but we just need this page open up completely. So we're going to open in a full page. Make sure it's open completely. We're going to copy the URL for this specific page. And again, this only works if we are completely in the page here. If you're not in the web version, you're on the app, go to share, copy link, copy the link to this page. Then we can go back to Anyden, paste in that database page, and now we can add a property manually. Now you can see that it actually loads in that value. And let's say that we want to be able to update a lead status. I use that an example in the demo, and you can see that mine doesn't actually get the status types. So again, we're just going to set to expression, 2 curly brackets, $sign from AI, parentheses, and then quotations, updated status for lead. Doesn't have to be exactly what I typed. It just, you need to give the AI enough information to allow it to fill in this variable properly. And again, we actually listed the different status options that it has to fill in here. The next ones are much easier. We just add a property, We'll give it a second to load. Maybe we want to update the notes. Select notes. Then the text, we can literally just click this button. It'll let the AI determine what value actually goes in here. And that's what we wanted to do in the first place. So it reads the email, sees what the email is talking about, summarizes it, and then updates our notes section. So that's what these are doing. I'm going to just delete this, but you can add and allow it to edit whatever properties. Maybe they got a new email. You can select a new property, contact email from AI, and let the AI actually update their email inside your CRM. So not going to get too much into that, but those are some of the options that you have. Now, before we actually close out of this tool, we're going to scroll back up, go to the database page again. We can just remove this URL, delete it, and then set this to by ID, and then just hit the AI model again, and then we can add a description. I'm going to copy this, what this looks like, add description, and you can just copy what I have on the screen. It should already be there, but page ID for the Notion page holding this lead. So again, we're just giving it information as to what it should fill in for this section, and that is the update tool. And then we can open get. This is much easier. We are just going to select the database, and then we can just add properties or conditions that we want the AI to be able to search for. So I just did name. So if the name contains whatever name the AI is searching for. So the thought process behind this was, if we have a lead here on our page, my name's Garrett Jones, it's searching for Garrett from the email. Then if Garrett Jones contains Garrett, which it does, it will find the lead. So that's why I did contains. You could do, I would just leave it as contains honestly, but you could do is equal to, equals. I did that for the email. So if the email of whatever contact we're searching for equals whatever the one the AI is searching for, then we'll get that contact back. So basically what this looks like is the agent receives an email. We're passing in whoever sent that email. So whatever email I sent it from, this agent will know that email. It's going to then just look through my database or my CRM and see if there's any contacts that already exist with that same email. And in the demo, there was. I sent it with this email, so it found my contact here. And then it can update the status, it can update the notes, whatever else you want it to update. And how it does this is it's just, searching for either my name or my email. So that's what that looks like. The tool's there. And then almost done, we've got the newsletter summary. So this is entirely optional. Well, so is everything else really, but however you want to do this. But this part just allows us to get summaries based on the newsletters that we have received. And what this looks like is we have a trigger here. You can set, I want to receive this every 3 days at 6 p.m., 10 p.m. Change the settings there. We are just getting a document, and again, you're just pasting that same document ID. So if we go back to our Google Docs step over here, copy that document ID that we made or found earlier, paste that in here, and then we're summarizing everything on that page. So you can edit this if you would like. This is what the system message looks like. This is the format that I chose. So I want whoever sent that newsletter, I want the topic of it, and then I want a summary of it in bullet points. Then this should be 2 actually. And it should have, the second one, so on, in that format. That's basically what I'm just saying here is, summarize it, give it to me in that format. And then here I am saying, please summarize the following. And then that is just everything off the Google document. Then we are sending a Slack message, just the output from that summarize step, to myself, the user. and then we're clearing the document, so we can paste in that same document ID from earlier. And then what we're doing is we're just finding all the text which we're getting. We are using that same get tool, so gets all the text off the document. We're just saying, find every single piece of text on that page and replace it with nothing. So it just clears out the entire page. So yeah, that is how you go about making an email classifier with some extra features, as well as just basically just classifying emails and adding labels. So if you have any questions, drop a comment below. I know this was kind of a lot with all the different connections that we have going on here, but if you did get anything from this video, please leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. Have a good one.